Okay, this is Sam again. Uh, this is a video over how to make this knife. It's a pretty menacing knife, but I was asked to do it. I had this little sketch here with all these reference dimensions, and just kind of took those into account when I was making it. I have a compass here. This little tooth feature, and it's kind of got like a chamfer with like a spline along there, looks straight along there, and you have this little blade here, or blade protector, I guess is what you could call it. And we have a little holder made out of fabric. This was actually kind of the hardest part of the entire thing, to get that to not look bad. So with those, I'll show you the actual model here. The ending model, I guess. Documents, Odesk, knife, assembly. Okay, here is the final assembly. Unseath this. Okay. Well, actually, this was supposed to be black. I don't know why it is not black. Huh. Well, it's supposed to be black. Let me pause it and I'll make it black. Actually, I remember why it's not black. It's because whenever I do a rendering of it, it doesn't turn out being very good looking. So I just made it all steel. So that's that. But so it looks like this. I have an exploded view here. We'll animate it. That's cool. So we have, the main blade. I put like a little I-beam there, just make it realistic, I guess. And this slides on, and it all slides into here. I imagine when they manufacture it, they just like injection mold this rubber into here, and then compass goes here. I didn't actually put the compass in, but I put like the watch glass. And this is the holder. It's not perfect, but what do you want? And then it's a cool little cutaway I have here at the end. Where it cuts away in 3 dimensions. I'll show you how to do all this once we get to this point. But to start, I started with the blade. So here's the blade. To be honest, I didn't really know how to start with this guy, because it's kind of hard to get something like this to turn out very well. So I'm going to take you through step by step. It took me about 3-ish hours to make it, so this is hopefully going to go faster than 3 hours. So I did a simple boss extrude, kind of like a blank, I guess. I got these measurements mostly off of the dimensions on the sketch here. So he did centimeters, I did millimeters. Big whoop. So straight line here, straight line here, straight line there. And this is a spline that I just put along. I kind of guessed, I just kind of went with what looked coolest, because knives are supposed to look cool. So we did a boss extrude. I did 1.5 millimeters. What I did was I wanted the end blade to be at its thickest 3 millimeters. So I made 1.5, and I'm going to mirror it across the top plane when I'm all said and done, because it's less work for me. So next thing I did was, let me make it so you can see planes. To make planes visible, you press this little eyeglass button here, in case you're wondering. And click plane. To get this edge here, I couldn't get the swept cut to work along, this to make a whole loop here like it's supposed to. So what I did was I did a series of cut sweeps. And to do that, I had to make a plane that was orthogonal. Orthogonal means perpendicular to this line on the entire surface is perpendicular. Just perpendicular, yeah, perpendicular to that line in 3 dimensions is orthogonal. So I wanted to cut it, so I made a profile like this and just cut straight through. I'll show you that sketch. This is the sketch I made, so it cuts through everything. I kind of just guess and check on these measurements. I just started. This little bit came in afterwards. It used to be just a straight. I used to have it to where it just came straight, and I left a 0.2 millimeter gap here that I was going to file down at the end with the last half millimeter. And then you kind of clean it up so you have this cutting path. And I'll show you so yeah, it cuts it out like this. And I said it only goes as far as the line goes, so I couldn't tell it to cut straight through. So that's just kind of a limitation of the tool I'm using. I don't really know what any of this does. It might make it do that, but I've never really figured it out, to be completely honest. But I found ways to get around it. So now I wanted to go along this spline. So I made a plane that was I should show you how to make these planes orthogonal. The first step is you pick the line that you want it to be perpendicular to, and then you pick the vertex that you want it to be perpendicular to, which is right there. And that puts the plane right there, and it's fully defined. So that's that. So we get this next out of it. It's the same exact sketch, just on a different plane. So same dimensions and everything. That should be 0.2. I don't know why I didn't mention that. Bad referencing on my part, I guess. And so the cut sweep follows the spline, and so you get this nice edge on the blade. And as you look at it, you can kind of see how my spline kind of sucks, but we won't look too deeply into it. And the next one, I did this plane. I don't know why I could have just done the front plane probably, but yeah, I could just whatever. I made the plane just to be safe, and I didn't use a cut sweep because this is a straight edge, so why do the extra work? Same sketch as before, put all the references in, and just cut up to, I think I did up to vertex. Yeah, up to this vertex, but it looks like it just went like a crazy far distance, whatever. And what that does is whenever you're modeling and you want to change the length, it'll automatically update it so that, it always cuts all the way through. And you don't have some weird, not cut out part. So we don't really need to see the planes anymore, so I'll hide those. The next was to add this, the blade doesn't go all the way to the handle, so the cool thing about Solidworks is you can, push a face through and then it merges it into one solid body, which is nice. So I did this sketch. These are just total guesses. They weren't included on the dimension sheet at all, so just guessed what looked right. This line really doesn't matter because it's coplanar with this, so it doesn't add anything. But what these do is just add a nice little ledge here that I can later put a chamfer on. And I just boss extruded to this face here. And then I put my chamfer on, which is gives a nice clean cut. To do this, I just selected this edge and this edge, and 2 millimeters was, I just kind of messed around with some numbers until I got an angle that I thought looked nice. So 75 degrees and 2 millimeters is what looks nice. Nice is the key word for today. And then I mirrored it, so now we have a full knife. I'll show you the mirror. I did a body because a lot of times if you try to do features and other things, it doesn't work. So if you just select the whole body, it does it perfectly every time. So now I got this nice razor sharp edge. And now this guy, this took some finesse, because since it's on a spline, it's good vertical here. Since it's on a spline, I put a little bit more work into it than what was probably needed. I made sure to make these, they're ellipses. This, you make them with this this tool up here. To make an ellipse, you just go up and then you go out, and you can dimension it however you want. And so I made the center of the ellipse here. I was modeling off of, I was looking at these and I was like, well, those aren't really circular. They've got a little bit of like a parabolic shape to them, so an ellipse is pretty close. So I made this center line from the tip of the ellipse to the center, and I made this perpendicular. First, to make a reference line, I converted the edge here onto my sketch plane, which I'm cutting through the center of the sketch plane. I don't know if you can. Maybe I am. I'm not really sure. So I did that, and then I offset it by 4 millimeters and made it a construction line. And what that does is give me a nice reference line to put my ellipses on. And then I brought it back down to 2 millimeters for me to put my my little saw teeth in. And so for my ellipse, I went up and I went over. I was told that they need to be about 40 millimeters. I'm a little short, but you know, sue me. So did the ellipse. I made sure it's perpendicular, because if it's perpendicular here, that means it's perpendicular here. And if I follow that kind of standard all the way across, then I have the saw teeth that are always perpendicular to the spline, and that's what I was aiming for. For these saw teeth, I made, you know, all of these parallel. So if I edit this at angle, it edits all three of these angles. Same thing with these, I made them all parallel. So if I edit this angle, it edits all three of these angles. And that just makes a nice way to edit it. I kind of just eyeballed it. And then I just redid that 3 times and put an ellipse at the end of it. It took a little longer than how I made it sound, but in the end, that's how I did it. And so you cut through it, just do a up to surface. So I was cutting from this surface, cut it up to this surface. I guess you could just do a through all, but you know, whatever. Multiple ways to do everything. The next thing was this boss extrude little I-beam here, because you know, you're not just gonna super glue the blade onto the handle. That's not gonna be good. You don't want it to come off in the middle of a knife fight. So I just did a sketch on here. Get normal here. I made sure it's equidistant between there and there, and you know, kind of the same all the way across. And then I just boss extruded it out, and Solidworks makes it, you know, incorporated into the body, so it's kind of like they made this out of one big cast piece. So 105 millimeters. I knew the length of the handle would be like 150, so I made it just a little shorter. And then I put these holes in because if you're gonna epoxy this into the handle, you want to have maximum surface area, and so this gives you some maximum surface area. And then I put a mid plane in right here, just because this will help me in the assembly. And how you do a mid plane is you select this face and this face, and it puts a plane right in the center of it. And that just helps when I'm putting it together. So we will hide the planes. And there you have it. A cool, menacing blade. The next part that I made was this blade guard, because it was simple. So again, I mirrored it across here, was kind of how I went about doing it. And I just kind of got some reference points off my other model. So there's the boss extrude, 15 millimeters up. I just kind of guess and check reference to the blade. And he gave me this dimension here, so I knew that. So not that big of a deal. So we had this little blank, I guess. And then I made a plane on the center, just because it's just reference for the assembly, really. It's just a mid plane like the last one. You click this plane and this bottom face down here. Makes a nice mid plane. And then I did a full round fillet. To do that, there's an option for the full round fillet. Whenever you make a new fillet, I'll show you where it's at. If you make a fillet and you do a full round fillet, it'll put these 3 boxes here, and you fill those 3 boxes in. You go here, here, and here. So face 1, 3, and 2. And what that does is automatically make a perfect hemisphere or hemicircle. So that's nifty. Keeps you from having to guess. And then I put a fillet here and a fillet. Oh, I guess I put a fillet around there, and then I put the fillet around there. Since I knew that my boss extrude was, what was my thickness? Does not really not have dimension on it. Huh. Well, I knew the thickness, so I just made the fillet half that thickness, so it does a complete circle around. I think I used a fillet expert on this because it was kind of a tricky thing to do. But so it gives us a nice bend in it. And then I did a mirror. And then I did this cut extrude with reference. I copied over the sketch from the other one, so you get the nice cut extrude. Okay, so that's that part. Next thing on the list was the handle, which was kind of a monster because it's elliptical, kind of around it here, so it's kind of hard to keep a nice clean cut. And to be honest, I don't really know how I came up with the method to do it. It just kind of happened. But how I start out most of the parts that I don't know how to do is I just make a blank. So what I did was boss extrude this oval out. I just kind of guess and check on these numbers until they match up with what the picture kind of looks like. Get started out of that. And I went out 110 millimeters. And that's just a dimension given to me by the client. And then I did this cut sweep because doing a revolve cut would give me a circular cutout. So I wanted to follow this outside ellipse, so I did a cut sweep. And it was kind of a pretty involved sketch. Let's go normal 2. So I started with just one big spline. I didn't have any of this stuff in here. One big spline, and then I kind of the method I use. This is what I use whenever I want to get something equally spaced. Is I just did a center line from here to there, and then you right click, split entities, and you just, I wanted to have 5, so I did 5 clicks. Now I have 5 sections of center line, and then you select each of them. Oops, don't select that. To unselect something, you just press Control. It's kind of nice to know. And then equal. And then you have 5 equally spaced. Oh, oops. 5 equally spaced points. And so then I put straight lines, center lines, straight up to the edge here. I trimmed them off later, but put them all straight up. And then I did a centered rectangle on, the point that was here. It was on the spline, and it was coincident with this. And so it was kind of like right here. Did a center rectangle out to there. And then I dimensioned, I did at some point I made them all equal. So I made each of these boxes equal, but they lost their relationship whenever I trimmed them off. So I came through and trimmed out all the extra lines. But that's kind of how I did it. They're not tangent to the spline at all, which I don't know if they want to or not. But so I exited out, and then I just used this as my guide curve, and it turned out pretty well. And then I had to put this kind of like angle here so we match up with the blade guard. So I sketched on the it's probably the front plane, just a triangle, but I wanted it to line up perfectly with the blade guard, so I put it at 14 millimeters, which is the thickness of the blade guard that we just made. And then I just angled upwards and mirrored it across the center line so that they're equal. Like, I can move them like that, but let's not. And then I put fillets all along these edges. I think I put my fillet, I selected each edge and put a 1 millimeter fillet on it, just to kind of clean it up, make it look a little less boxy. And then I had to put the I-beam holder here. Same sketch as last time. Just copy it over. I did it in the assembly. This was a post part. And then I put an axis somewhere. Where did I? Oh, I put an axis right through the center here. Do that by you can go up to reference geometry up here and select axis, and then I always choose 2 planes and front and top plane, so it puts the axis right on the intersection of those 2 planes. And then I had to put this little compass holder at the end. It's kind of big and bulky, but whatever. And I just did a revolve that looks something like that. To make this arc up here, you could use a circle, you could use the arc tool. What I use is if you do a line, straight up, kind of like, okay, so we got line, so it's straight. If you come back and touch it, it lets you draw an arc. and you can make a perfect 180-degree circle, semicircle. And then for this is just a spline that is it a spline? No, I used an ellipse. I just came down here, put there, came up to a point I liked, and then came into a point I liked, and then trimmed it out. And so that puts this cavity in all in one part. And so there's the handle. Let's see, what else? We've done the blade, we've done the guard, we've done the handle. Compass watch is it's literally a few features, I guess. I just revolved a half ellipse because why I did this was I wanted it to fit perfectly in with the ellipse that I did on the handle. So I made the same sized ellipse that I did on the handle. And then I we'll roll it back. So we got this. I'm going to make them not transparent. Is there a way to do that when I'm not in assembly? Alright, well we will change the appearance to be a solid color. Okay, so we got like this hockey puck. That looks like a thin mint. I don't know, I'm kind of hungry. So we got the revolve, and then I did a shell inwards, which doesn't look like it did anything, but if you do a section view, you'll see that I hollowed it out. So how you do that is, there's a shell feature up here. You click on it, and then it asks for a face that you want to remove. I don't want to remove any face, but I want it to shell inwards 1 millimeter. So you can do the preview, and just show it, but it'll show a yellow preview, or I can shell outwards. You can see there's this preview here of where it would shell to, but I want it to shell inwards. And then I just cut it in half. It's probably just a square. And so then you kind of got this watch plate. I'm going to put the glass view back on. Thick glass, clear glass. So that's that. And the last one was the holder. I made this holder entirely to reference to the assembly. So I'm going to show you how I made the assembly first. I'll hide the holder because we haven't made that yet. So I started. We're going to just roll this back. Go collapse items. No, I can't. Whatever. Oh, yeah, I can roll that back. Okay. So I started with the blade because that seems like a good place to start. Whenever you insert a part, go to insert, and then I'll just do the handle. Don't move it in here at all, because then your origin won't line up with the origin of your assembly. Click the green, and then it automatically lines up. Our origin on this part was right here. For this part, it was right here, and the origin for this part is right here. So it automatically lines it up to where everything is lined up. So you can use all your planes and references that you use in the other part, which is useful. So we had the blade here. I'll hide him and him, and then I inserted this guy. And I just did a, I I matched up their planes, because remember I put this center plane in on that other part, which comes into play here, where I match up this guy's right plane to this guy's center plane. And then I did the same thing with their top planes. And then I did a coincident on this face to this face. And that puts me right in the center, right where I want it to be. And then the next thing I added was the handle. It's like a logical step. So I'll make him transparent so you can see inside of him. The mates I did on this one were the right planes, top plane, and then this front face. So kind of the same steps I used on the last one. And we'll make them less transparent now. And then I put the compass watch glass on, which was pretty straightforward. I used a concentric mate. So I made this line concentric with that line. And then I put him on the face, and then I put this guy on just to fully define it, because otherwise you could rotate him, but then you always have an underdefined assembly, which is just poor modeling. So, yeah. It's kind of terrifying. So, I was sitting here looking at the holder, thinking, how in the world am I going to make it? Because, you know, one, making fabric in Solidworks is kind of ridiculous, and two, you gotta kind of make it a snug fit. So, there's a way you can make a part in Solidworks, in an assembly. What I did was I started a new part. Go ahead and open up the holder. Basically, I started a new part. We'll roll them back here. I just made a block. A really thin block. And I got the shape of the knife by going into my assembly. There it is. It's gonna get mad at me, but I just won't save anything. I came into my assembly and I mated it, or lined it up, mated the planes and got it all lined up where I wanted it. And then you go in and you say edit part, and so now I'm editing this part, and you can do boss extrudes on the face and everything, and it updates your part. And so I just converted the entity of the knife blade. See if you can see sketch. See, I converted the shape of the knife blade, which is this center line, and then I put a offset of looks like 2 or 3 millimeters, and so that gives me, you know, a little bit of playroom with the blade. And I just cut that out, so it's kind of like I'm making a blank. I'm a whittle away kind of guy. And then I rounded it out because, you know, fabric isn't super boxy. And then I shelled it outwards. So it was here, and now it's here. I shelled outwards because this is what I want the inside cavity to look like. So by shelling outwards, I make the inside cavity hollow and put an outside on it. But then I saw these guys and I didn't like them. They're just a artifact of the fillet. So I lopped them off to where, you know, just quick and easy solution. I could probably go through and find a more elegant solution, but it works. I put a mid plane on just for reference of, you know, putting it together in the assembly. And then for this guy, I came into my assembly. I don't know why it's lost all of its color. Okay, whatever. I came in here and I lined it up like this, and I just drew lines from here, 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 and back over, and boss extruded them both ways from the center plane. And that kind of, because I would be just guessing and checking if I did it. Doing it here allows me to, make everything with reference to everything else. So it's one quick, easy step. And then to make these wraparound things, I put a plane. I'll show you what I'm making. The end goal here is to get this, which is kind of a tricky shape to make. So to start, I needed something to sketch on, so I put a plane here. I just did a distance, I believe. Yeah, I just went up to this plane and went 21 millimeters over. And then I put this guy on for, because I had to draw. I'll show you the sketches in my suite. So drawing on this plane that we just made, square of the world here. I just did a big spline from here down to here, over to here, up to there. Actually, now that I look at this, nope, that was stupid. Okay, so I just kind of picked a point in space here and a point in space here, and I wanted this to be 4 millimeters above this, and I wanted this to be 5 millimeters from the edge. I just kind of put some dimensions just so there's a little bit of structure to it, and you just kind of eyeball it until you get a shape that you like. And then I sketched, remember how I put this plane here? I put the plane to be, here, I'm just going to delete this. I put this plane to be orthogonal to this spline point. And you do that by choosing this point and this spline, and it puts the plane perpendicular on all angles to it. And then I drew the sketch on that plane, coincident to that point, just for reference. 10 millimeters, 2 millimeters. And then I did the swept boss base, so I got that as my profile. And then this as my guide curve. And there we have it. I came into my assembly and just kind of, eyeballed it. I got it to where it can slide on and off by lining up the top planes and the right planes. So, we got a scary looking sword. Knife, I guess, not a sword. And I'll show you how I did one of the drawings. I'll do the main assembly drawing just because it has all the parts you'll need in making the drawing. The first thing I did was you go to model view and we want to do the assembly, and then you can select which face you want to put in. You can do isometric, which is this guy, a top view, which is this guy, and side views and long views. And you press OK and it automatically puts them in. But I wanted to show the insides, so you go to section view, and then you can put these little, lines in here, like this one right here. If you click OK, then you pull over this guy, which shows how the blade fits inside of the holster. And same thing here, I did a section view along this edge to show you, just to show, maybe I can move them so it's more centered. Yeah, that's better. Just to show, how how this guy fits in here. Now this one's the more interesting one in my opinion. I did a section view along here and popped it up. It shows you how it kind of fits into the handle, you know. And then I did a section view here just to show you the I-beam and the holster wraparound. And then to make this bill of materials, which if you look at the bill of materials, it shows you the item number, which if you look down here, you know, the blade is 1, the holster is 5, and the part number, which is named. It's a name, not a number. Description, I just kind of put some quick descriptions in, and the quantity. To get that, you go to annotation, tables, bill of materials, and then you have to select the drawing that you want to have pop up. So I selected this drawing, this one right here, because it has all the components in it, and that gave me this table. But then there's no references to the drawing, so you come up and you click auto balloon, and you click the drawing you want to auto balloon, and so it did it for me automatically. It said the blade is 1, the holster is 5, the blood guard here is 2, and it's nice and quick and simple. So I'm gonna exit out of this guy without saving so that we can get a cool last shot with all the colors. Nope, never mind actually. I don't know why it's doing this, but just take my word for it that it was really cool looking and multicolored. So that's a wrap, I guess.